Hey, this is Peter from Pete's Diary, and in today's episode, I'm going to talk to you guys about my Marshall Studio Vintage, some of the pedals that I like to use with this amp, and my attenuator. So let's jump into it. Absolutely love this amp. I've had it for a couple of years now, and lots of people have been asking about it. What are your settings? How do you run it? That kind of thing. So let's walk through it, and I'll show you what I love about it. So with the Marshall Studio Vintage, it's a 20-watt amp, and I guess starting off with the cabinet down here, it's got two Vintage 30s, Celestion, Vintage 30s. And it's a vertical cabinet, right? So they're stacked on top of each other. And then in the head up here, it's running EL34 tubes, and they sound fantastic. It's funny. It's like this amp is 20 watts, and of course, there's like the 100-watt amps and all of that, or like the 100-watt plexis and all that kind of stuff. It's just like the 20-watt. It's so loud. I've seen some ads kind of describe it as a bedroom amp, and I'm just like, man, that would still like blow the roof off the place. I get in trouble at some of the venues we play with this amp being too loud, which I never think it's too loud. I wish I could have more on stage, but no, and it sounds incredible. I haven't even played through any of the 100-watt amps, and it's pretty mind blowing how great it sounds. But I guess I could just kind of walk you through really quick here some of the settings that I have, and can kind of give you some tone tests with it. So really quick, I am running an attenuator today with this amp. It's a 2 Notes Torpedo Captor X. Sounds great, brings down the volume so that, you're not going to, blow your head off or annoy the neighbors too much. It's awesome. So I guess just kind of running you through the settings here really quick. It's interesting because the settings, they change all the time, depending on the room and how things kind of go. This is just kind of the setup right now that, I don't know, I guess sounds good to me. But the settings are honestly kind of always changing because, different rooms have different sounds and all of that. So they kind of shift all the time. But I guess right now, I have like the presence is a little bit past 6, kind of close to 7. The bass I do have cranked. I actually did it the opposite a while ago, where I had the bass rolled to 0 because I heard that's what Eddie Van Halen did. And I went, well, if Eddie did it, I should do it too. But I actually found out the opposite kind of worked better for me in this situation. Just kind of having some more bottom end so it's not too, tinny or screechy in the top end. That kind of helps level things out a bit more. So that works for me. And then middle, I have it cranked to like, 8? Treble is 7. And honestly, these two kind of shift around a lot. Sometimes I'll roll the second volume to 0 and kind of have the main, which one is that? The loudness one kind of cranked up really high. But really, it just kind of depends on the room and kind of what I'm feeling in that moment or that day. And I guess that's the other big thing about these amps, too. If you don't know or haven't messed around with a plexi before, you'll see these 2 jumper cables. And, you'll see the 4 inputs, right, with the amp. And then you'll see these 2 this 1 jumper cable that kind of connects to the inputs. And basically what that's doing is you'll plug your main input, kind of your main guitar cable. I like it in the first channel because I guess I could kind of do some demos here really quick of kind of the different inputs and how they sound if you haven't messed around with that before. But I guess kind of before that, this first channel here is kind of the brighter channel and kind of goes with this volume knob. And it's kind of brighter and a little bit, kind of more has that sparkle and clarity to it. And then the other channel, or, channel 2 is a little bit bassier and kind of has some, not muddiness, but, it's a little bit, got a little bit more low end to it. So that's kind of where the beauties of these amps kind of come into play is where, when you jump the two channels together, you can blend both of the volume knobs together. So you can kind of get a good mix of your high end and low end and then kind of tweak it with the EQ, or at least that's how I kind of do it. So, it's a really great amp for kind of really dialing in, what you're hearing with your high ends and low ends. But I'll show you guys some of the different inputs here so that you guys can hear it. So with all of these sounds here, I have some stuff on the floor, but none of it's on right now. So what you're hearing is just the amp all by itself. And of course, it's still got the attenuator with it as well. So with this first kind of sound here that I want to show you, it's just the input one, this top left channel here, all by itself. So the volume's at 5, so it's kind of cleaner on its own. And then, the guitar volume is at 10 and all of that. So with input 1, it's pretty bright. Maybe a little, maybe a little shrill right now. But yeah, so channel 1's pretty bright. And now I moved the cable over to the right, and that's channel 2. And channel 2 kind of has a little bit more of a bassier sound, maybe a little bit more muddy. So this is kind of that sound for you. And then, just for the sake of showing you, really the bottom channels kind of match the top channels, but I'll still show you anyway for those that want to check it out. So really just this bottom input here is still the, channel 1. So. And then again, moving over to channel 2, you kind of have the same as the one above it. So now, this is where the kind of patch cable comes in handy. What a lot of players do, myself included, is I like plugging into the brighter channel because, as a guitar, you want to stick out more, with more of a mid-range, kind of high, kind of more of a bite, trebly bite to it, right? So, we plug into channel 1 to kind of get that more high-end kind of sound. But then you take a patch cable and you jump, the darker channel with the brighter channel. And now these are the channels jumped together. So now you have both of these volumes working together, and you can kind of dial it in any way you want. So now both of these volumes, now you can move both of these volumes around and kind of dial in whatever you want. So now this is everything all together. And there you go. I guess, you can, on your own, you can kind of, jump around and mess with any combination you want. But really, this is kind of the main setup that lots of players use. And it sounds great. It's really, really cool. So, in addition to the amp, what I love running live is, of course, mainly my SG. There's a couple other guitars I love running. But the SG is kind of the main one I always turn to, for live use at least. But then on the floor, Mainly, I really dig using the Solo Dallas Schaefer replica. I think this is it's the classic. Really love the sound of this pedal. And then I also sometimes I'll use the Marshall Governor, which is awesome. I used the Governor for all of the solos on the Keep On Rockin' album. And I think it's also on the intro of Gotta Let You Go as well, but I can't remember. But I know for a fact it's on all of the solos and lead guitar work on the record. And then I also have it's a ISP decimator, and it's basically a noise gate, which I'll explain why I have that in a second. So, so right now, what I'll show you guys, it's probably my favorite setup right now to run. I have the Schaefer replica on, but then I also have the noise gate as well. And basically, what I love about this is it's very transparent. Basically, it feels like all that it's doing is it's taking what's already with the amp, and it just pushes everything forward in a very clean way. It's not very overdriven. It's interesting because it's not really like an overdrive or anything. It just kind of pushes everything a bit more, which in a really natural way. Because the Plexi is kind of this amp is kind of a cleaner sound, so it's just kind of taking that and pushing it a little bit more, which I really love. So yeah, not really an overdrive. It's just kind of pushing things more. And then this pedal is also very noisy. I heard in Angus's rig rundown. Angus apparently calls it like a fizz box, and now I know why. I'll show you. Cover your ears. So this is with the noise gate off. So, and it's, even worse on attenuated. So the noise gate just kind of helps bring everything down, and kind of keeps it manageable. But, with everything running together, you get this. So that's pretty much that. No, it's great. It just pushes everything a little bit more. And then as somebody who also uses their volume a lot, kind of funny with this guitar, I love it to death. It doesn't have a clean sound. Typically when you roll the volume down, it cleans up. This guitar does not do that. So I do roll it back a bit for the kind of rhythm kind of thing, right? So okay, this is at 10. Roll it back, I don't know, what's that at? 7. Roll it back to 7. Now you go back up to 10. Roll it back a little bit now. It very, that's kind of the great thing about this too. It's not a very overdriven rig. It's all about kind of dynamics, which I really love messing around with your volume knob and, kind of this setup. It's a lot of fun. Yeah. So that's pretty much it with this. And then, kind of throwing the Governor into the mix. I'll show you that really quick as well. It's definitely a bit more, you can definitely get a bit more gainy with it. So now this is with the Governor. So it's definitely got a little bit more of a crunch to it, a little bit more overdrive. And that's with the gain rolled back a little bit as well. It's under halfway. So you can definitely kind of crank it a bit more. Um, I don't think I have it quite set up to kind of, um, go as crazy right now. But, you could definitely kind of get more of the higher gain kind of stuff if you want to kind of go there. So yeah, it's a really fun rig. It's very simple. I mean, there's some stuff I might throw in sometimes too. I have, a watt pedal that I've thrown in a little bit for some shows. And I have a wireless, a Shure Wireless that I use it's also my tuner that I'll, run around on stage with. But this is really the main kind of setup here. So it's pretty straightforward. But it sounds great, very simple, which is kind of how I like it. I don't like overcomplicating things. Now, something else that goes along with having an amp as loud as this is, of course, hearing protection. And I never leave the house without my Sensaphonics earplugs. And these things are great because what they do is, they'll protect your hearing, but they don't take away the sound of what you're hearing on stage or hearing at a show. Because, of course, going to shows is also very loud as well, not just playing on stage. So these things work great for, concerts. And I mean, I know people that have even gone to the people have even gone to like bars and other kind of big social events, if it's like a big noisy club or something, and we'll put these in. So they work great anywhere. And it's cool because, I had these custom made and, you can get different kind of color options. There was a custom mold of my ear as well. So they fit super comfortably. And so I went with this kind of cool, like silver sparkle kind of vibe. And they fit, super snug. And on stage, the sound is fantastic. It doesn't really dampen anything because, those foam earplugs that you put in, they'll kind of dampen sound and all that. And, sound is great. These don't take away from the sound of anything at all. Just helps protect your hearing from, really great noisy amps. So I hope you guys enjoyed this look at how I use the Marshall Studio Vintage here at home. And, some of the pedals that I hook up to it as well, and the attenuator. If you guys have any other questions about, my gear and what I might use at home, or maybe something that I missed here, please let me know in the comments. I'd love to do more videos like this and just kind of talk, some of the gear here and answer some of the questions that you guys might have. Thank you guys so much for watching, and until next time, be kind and keep on rocking.